Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, we got a super exciting show coming your way today. I got one of my very, very special guests, colleague, and this young lady right here, just absolutely wonderful. And, we're going to be talking about this thing called Make Your Life Your Best Adventure. We're talking about lessons learned from everything that we do in life. Some lessons, I think every lesson that we learn from whatever that might be, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is so important in helping shape us into the person that we're going to continue to grow into and continue just to be the best that you can be. So this is absolutely wonderful guest has been on the show many, many times. And she will be on many, many more. And she just absolutely extraordinary, a young lady. And some of the things, just like I mentioned to you about the title is Make Life Your Best Adventure, Life Lessons Learned. So we're going to have a sit down discussion with Dr. Pauline Crawford, founder and chief vision officer of the Corporation Heart International, and also author. She does it all. So we're going to share core values, and we're going to talk about the Mount Kenya venture. We're going to talk about a whole lot of other things. So I tell you, first of all, let me get this young lady on the show so she can tell you a little bit more about her. And then we're going to dive off into this very, very important topic. How are you doing today, Dr. Pauline? How you doing?
I am doing so well, Dorothy. This is always an adventure coming on the show with you.
It's always a venture having you because you bring so much insight and so much light. And not just that, joy and happiness. And most importantly, I get a chance to see that beautiful smile of yours. And I think more people should smile more often. What you guys say about that, Dr. Pauline?
Well, smiling is just the best thing in the world, and I'm well known for my smile. In fact, my husband, Dr. Jim, he fell in love with my smile when we met in Budapest 12 years ago, and I've just always been known for my smile. People have I just do it naturally because I love smiling. But as a young girl, I did actually make a conscious decision that I looked much more attractive if I smiled. So that there was a, when you're in your puberty years and you're wondering, oh my goodness me, am I like all the other girls in the class? And I thought, well, look, I just love smiling. I love connecting to people. That's going to be my trait. So it becomes natural to me. But it's really important because you're a very smiley person, and you and I smile even when we're not speaking. Whereas a lot of people don't. They speak with a smile and then they go into this non-smiley face. And I love to teach my clients to actually keep what I say is a sort of smiley presence.
It doesn't take to be happy. I mean, and a lot of times we don't know what that does to the other person. That other person could be in the worst situation at that time. You can come by and smile, show them that you care, and that might have made their day. So,
But that's right. But there's also a selfish reason because when you smile, you actually make your body healthy. You actually create, um, you know, oxytocin and endorphins and dopamine, all sorts of natural energy. Uh, I'm not a medical person, but I do listen to all this, and it is true. We're not just made up of our physical body. We've got all these things going on inside us, which we can increase in capacity. So you've got to remember, everything is about energy, frequency, and vibration. And yet, the majority of the world don't really go around their day thinking about that. If they did, then they would smile even in adversity.
absolutely. Hey, Dr. Pauling, for the people that might have missed your last couple of times on the show, can you tell our viewers and our listeners who is Dr. Pauline Crawford? What makes you click? What keeps you happy? And what is your mission? You know, your mission that you think God gave you purpose to do.
Well, my mission is definitely to create an authentic harmony world. I've always loved harmony. I've always loved the excitement of good conversations. You know, even when I was a kid, the conversation we'd have in the family, even if I was just listening and not necessarily contributing. I just loved being at school with friends, having conversations, and harmony was an important part of that. I didn't want to be in conflict. And so as I grew up, I really studied human nature, from the outside to the inside, in the image world and in the behavioral world. So now I'm a doctor of Entreprenology, which is all about mindset and expansion and, dare I say, being your best. But the core expertise in there is, how do human beings work? How do I work? How do you work? How do we work together? And that's where I talk about, how do we play in the playground of adventure? Because that's what the playground is all about. The famous quote from Helen Keller, life is even a daring adventure or it's nothing. Well, I've always believed it's a daring adventure, and I've always been a little bit of a rebel in that sense. And sometimes my family look at me and they go, "Oh, what's she up to again?" But life is for living, and that's what I believe. Even if we're in a serious corporate role, or we're, dare I say, a politician or a governor, or there is a serious side to life, but there's also a love of life, a joy of life, and that's what makes the difference. We can tackle really difficult subjects, but we can still be joyful entering the conversation. So my mission is a world that is jointly created by men and women in harmony, across nations, across language, across any barrier that we think is there. The barriers are only there for us to surmount and cross and say hi and smile.
Hey, I tell you, just like you keep mentioning that smile, because that is so important
It
uh,
is.
to others. And you also mentioned about these endorphins that are released when you release a smile and joy. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Well, when you release a smile, you do several things. A smile is across the world. People respond to a smile. You've had that time when you catch the eye of somebody who looks a bit miserable and you smile. There's an instinctive response in the human body to smile, even though they may not even want to. So doing that internally, it creates a better health condition, because it does, especially for women, it increases their oxytocin level, but for men as well. It increases all the molecular level of your body. But it's a way of connecting across language. I lived in Malaysia for 4 years, and there were people there who did speak English, but they also spoke Bahasa and Hindu and Chinese. And I didn't always have the same language, but you could still smile and connect through your body language, through your gestures. And the smile is the first place for doing that. And what happens when you smile is it lights the face up. It literally changes your ability. It's very difficult to smile genuinely and have a very bad posture. So when you smile genuinely and you stand in your body, it increases your presence in the room. And that enables everybody in the room to feel better. Now, they might have very different perspectives and preferences to you, but you started a bridge of communication unconsciously and harmoniously. And that for me is, I really want to get the world to understand we've got everything we need. We are amazing, beautiful human beings. And even if we're not feeling 100% well because of a flu bug or just tiredness, we can still smile into that space. And that's magical.
And you're absolutely right, because I don't know if I got a flu bug or something today, but uh, you probably can tell, but smile, that's not going to take away my smile. I got to do that. I mean, I'm talking about it kind of brings
Well,
joy
yeah,
to
what's
me.
interesting is you make the conscious, as I do, we make the conscious choice to smile, but it becomes an unconscious part of our persona. I mean, we could smile in our dreams, in our sleep. And it doesn't mean that everything is always happy and easy. I think sometimes people make that mistake, but it's actually saying, okay, I'm here in the world. I'm going to face it with a smile. Our current world is very challenging. So, if we go around with a miserable face, we will have a miserable body and we will have a miserable life. So it's all about choices.
It is all about choices. I've got about 2 minutes before the break, but you had mentioned something earlier. You said you see life as one big adventure, which leads others to learn a lot of things. Can you touch on that one right now, and we'll pick it up right after the break?
Well, I think I suppose if we ask the question, why would we be frightened of an adventure? Why would we see an adventure as something we didn't want to do? I mean, in many ways, you could say waking up in the morning is always an adventure, because if we don't wake up in the morning, we're passing out somewhere else. But when we get out of bed, are we going to have an adventure that day? Now, we might have a big adventure, as I will share with my mountain adventures. But if we get that mindset, because it's all about mindset, do we have a mindset for an adventure, an expansion? And this is, for me, is what also Entreprenology is about, is how can I be better and more and do something different? How can I make a change in my life and not be scared about it? I might be scary excited, but I don't stop doing it. So taking an actual adventure, and what I mean is sort of literally putting the backpack on and going out and climbing a mountain, actually was something I had never done. And I was in my late 50s at the time I did it. But I think I'd had a history of, for instance, I went sailing when I was a kid. My family went sailing, and you go out on the sea in a boat, there's an adventure there. You go out and you do something different.
Hold that thought. We're going to pick it up, because especially the selling portion of it. We're going to take a station break, but as you see, that we can get ready to get deep into this great conversation with this absolutely fantastic doctor. And I tell you, if you want to be part of the conversation, whichever platform that you're watching us on or listening to us on, whether it's E360 TV, Transfer TV, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, over 55 other live streaming networks, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. It's something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like the magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are, and one that keeps us close when we're apart. Walking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of need.
welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I got this absolutely wonderful guest of mine, my very, very good friend, Dr. Pauline Crawford. And we're here talking about this topic. I think that this matters to all of us. We're talking about make your best adventure. Make it your best. Everything that you do, try to make it your best, because we learn from things. As I mentioned earlier, good, bad, and indifferent. And we want to continue to learn regardless of whatever situation or circumstances that we might have. So make it your best adventure. And prior to the break, I was asking Dr. Crawford about one of the adventures that she would recalling as a little girl when they used to go rafting or something. Can you pick it up from there?
But in terms of my actual adventure to Kenya, yes. So the key is for everybody to understand that being your best is a lovely acronym which we'll impress here. Be extraordinary starting today. That spells best. Be extraordinary starting today. So if you have an adventure mindset, you have that looking at the adventure. Now, you don't all have to climb a mountain, but what happened I was in my 50s, 2005. I was having a very stressful time with a lot of conferences and things I was running, and somebody suggested that I would go on a trip to climb up Mount Kenya. And I found myself saying, yes, why not? Something different. I didn't plan it. And I think that's the other thing. If you have an adventure mindset, you don't necessarily plan every time to do something. But if it arrives, you go, oh, yes, why not? I'd never, ever put a rucksack on my back. I had never put climbing boots on my feet. And yet I found myself heading towards Nairobi one December the 30th. And I joined a party of people I didn't know with some crazy walker climbers. And I walked to 4,200 meters on Mount Kenya. I have to say it was tough. I hadn't practiced enough. I wasn't really ready. But that's the thing about having the mindset is you take the decision to be extraordinary starting today, and then you face what comes up. And that's where you learn the lessons, because the lessons I learned were so phenomenal. And they started by my perseverance. There were many points where I wanted to give up, but to be honest, I couldn't. And therefore I had to keep on stepping up and stepping up and stepping up. You've done that, I'm sure, in your life.
We always have to step up, even when we fall down, we have to get back up, step up. Now you had mentioned this core again. Can you tell our audience what does that stand for? Just
Well,
make it clear to them.
yeah, and this is really important. So you're going to be extraordinary starting today. And at the core of that, there's another acronym, CORE. And this is the only reason I managed to get through my trip on the mountain, because the C is choice. Once you make the choice, you own it. That's the O. So that choice could be multiple. It could be a choice in business or personal life, or whatever it is. But you're making choices all the time. So be aware that you're in charge of your own life. And once you make that choice, you make a decision to do X, Y, and Z, but you need to own the choice. Now, the decisions you make for that choice may not work. They may work. And that's where you take ownership of it, because life isn't always perfect. There can be failures. I had a tough time on the mountain, but I had to take ownership of it. I was sharing a tent with somebody I didn't know. We didn't get on particularly well. I was challenged by the altitude, but I learned lessons all the way through. So I took ownership of them. And then the R is responsibility, something I learned from my father. The R is, what is my responsibility within owning this choice? Because they're different responsibilities. My first responsibility was to me, but my second was to the party that I was with on the mountain. So I listened to the advice. If you're in a strange place, you don't start going to do your own rules, because you don't know what's going to happen to you. In fact, one of our party did suffer from altitude sickness. So you've got to be aware of taking responsibility for the situation you're in. And then the E is energy. because actually that's all we are. We are energy. We are all of energy. So you make the choice, you take ownership, you be responsible for yourself so you don't endanger anybody else. In fact, you enhance everybody else's life. And that E is your own energy. And energy can only expand into other people's energy. And so what happens then, you get collective energy, and that's authentic harmony. So looking at the core of your day, you don't need to be on a mountain. Your adventure could be getting on a bus to a new city, or going to visit somebody you haven't met before, or trying to do a business in a different way. That could be your adventure, but you still take the choice, own it, be responsible, and enjoy the energy that comes with that. There you are, core.
Choice, ownership, responsibility, and have the energy to complete the job.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So a lot of people don't want to make choices, especially sometimes when they think they don't have the confidence in them to think that they can make the right choice, but they have to, because we all are responsible for our actions and the things that we do and the situations, circumstances that we find ourselves in 90% of the time.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I love simplicity. And one of the key simplicities is, if you think you can't make a choice, by thinking and not making a choice, you are making a choice. And I hope everybody's going, oh, because, even the first time I heard that, I thought, yeah, that's true. We are making choices all the time. You're making choice whether to wash your face or have a shave or clean your teeth. Actually, those are all little choices. No, I just do those naturally, but they're all choices. You could choose not to do them. So think about choice in a different way. It's when you get to a very crucial decision, and decisions are part of choices, but they're not the choices, then look at the range of choices as beautiful gifts to you. People might say, oh, but I grew up in a terrible early life, and, I didn't choose that. Or maybe you didn't consciously choose it, but you can choose to honor it. You can choose to move away from it. You can choose to be something more than you have been before. These are all simple choices. And, I know people who say, oh, it's not that simple. Well, for me, it is simple. So this is my understanding, that if we don't think we can make a choice, we are already making a choice. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell our viewers why being the best you that you can possibly be will also enhance your decision making and also give you the confidence, courage, hope, belief, and faith, and that you can do anything that you set your mind to?
Absolutely. And it's what I call the value cycle. When you make a choice and you take that ownership of it and the responsibility, the energy, and then you measure yourself. You say, well, do I enjoy being that best? Being my extraordinary starting today best? Yeah, I did. Maybe I didn't like that bit of it. Let's change it. But all the time, you're increasing the cycle of being your best, and therefore increases the potential to be your best with everybody else you meet. And so it's energy begets energy. If we're being our best, smiling, positive energy, and that means without ego, without being judgmental, without being critical, being a good, decent human being, be very sure of yourself, but don't be imposing on other people. So being your best means that you can expand your energy and share it. I always remember working in the image field many years ago, and the idea of increasing confidence, which I was doing for myself then. This is some 30 years ago. And my partner at the time, an American lady, she said, the only thing you can do with genuine confidence is to give it away. And I really learned that lesson, because I had been less than confident and not sure of myself. And then when I thought, no, this is my gift to everybody else, I'm not being confident with ego. That is not true confidence. True confidence is a sharing of your best you. And if you do that in a genuine, authentic way, it can only be valued by other people. It's an absolute equation. And it's, if you take the other side of it, if you're being negative, you're giving your negative self to other people, you will get negative back. So the cycle of intention and value is always there with you. You make the choice to make it positive.
Wow. You put it real simple and easier for everybody to understand that. Hey, Dr. Pauline, so how does fostering meaningful relationship work in choices? I mean, in other words, you gotta trust people. Some people you can't trust everybody. You have to surround yourself with people that you can truly trust and that you are able to communicate with, and that helps build confidence within one's. So making the right choice or choices and who you hang out with, what you do, how you do it is so important. Can you talk about that a little bit more? I know we got about 2 minutes before the break.
Well, very quickly, if you trust yourself, it's more likely that other people will trust in you. Now, I'm not saying that everybody you meet will be trustworthy. There will be people who play a good role of trust and maybe aren't trusting, but as long as you understand in yourself what you want, what you trust in yourself, what you want to be in trusting relationships, then it's also about being honest. Just going back to my adventure on the mountain, I was with about 24 people who I didn't know. I knew the leader vaguely. I'd met him once, but it really was a risky journey. And it took me some time to really trust, but I did trust the leader that he knew what we were doing on the mountain. And it took me some time to trust the whole group and for them to trust me. But I just stayed in that place of being myself, being the best I could be every day in an unusual situation. I mean, we were going up to, 0 degrees. At the last camp, we were under minus degrees. It was extremely cold. It was very different. Everybody was challenged. But what I learned from the mountain was that the mountain is solid. The mountain doesn't move. You move on the mountain. And I learned how to trust the mountain. So very quickly, I was really huffing and puffing and not doing my breath work very well one day. And one of the Kenyan guides said, "You got to walk slowly." And I said, "I am walking slowly." He said, "No, really slowly." And I trusted him because he knew the mountain. So he stood in front of me that day and he walked toe to heel, toe to heel, toe to heel, so slowly. And it slowed me right down. And then after 20 minutes, he said, "You got it." He left me. And as I walked on, I connected to the mountain. I stopped losing breath. Breathing was fine. And I found that I could look at the mountain and see the vista, which I didn't see the day before. Now, if we can just do that, one thing is to trust in ourselves and our situation and our ability to move into it or out of it if it goes wrong. That is trust.
I love it. Maybe one of these days I might have to go to Kenya and try to climb that mountain. But we're gonna take a station break. I tell you, this is so intriguing, and you're learning so much because it's like what Dr. Pauline just said. You have to learn to trust yourself. If you can't trust yourself, you're certainly not going to trust anybody else. And you're just going to be out there wondering, untrustworthy yourself. Thanks for sharing that story, Dr. Pauline. We're going to take a station break. If you want to be part of the conversation with your platform that you're watching us on, all you do, just go to the comments. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life with my absolutely wonderful guest here, Dr. Pauline Crawford. And we're going over one of her theories called a core. I'm just learning so much from this theory. So we just finished it with, choices. Then we're going to talk about ownership. And we're going to talk about responsibility. And we're going to talk about the energy that is required for us to be the best you as you can be. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. Pauline. Let's talk about this ownership. I know you talked about it briefly when you introduced the acronym.
The ownership part is, so we've made choices and we're really learning to trust ourselves. But so that's the trusting ourselves is part of ownership, but also own everything about you, the natural gifts you have, what you do best, what are your preferences, what are your perspectives. This is owning it and therefore when you share with other people, you're not sharing in a state of ego, but you're sharing in a space of experience. I love numbers and drawing graphs, and at school, I wasn't a linguist, but I loved designing things. I did dressmaking. I loved dancing. All those things were part of me. And I want to share who I am through my experiences. So that's what I own. I own myself, but not in ego. And this is really important, but not be too humble either, because sometimes people are shy to share. Now, it doesn't mean to say you have to be all gregarious. You can be a shy person, but really, when somebody says something that you can connect to, say, oh gosh, yes, I know something about that. I would love to share my experience. So think about sharing experiences. That's where ownership comes in, because then we can own each other's stories. So ownership is about your story, who you are, and how you would connect with other people.
Wow. So I think you're saying that it's okay to be you, yourself. And many people try and pretend like they somebody else or want to walk in somebody else's shoes and have no individuality because it's I'm just gonna put it frank. They're lying to themselves and they lying to others. And I think that is so, how would you put it? It's crazy regardless of what you do. God gave us purpose, right? He made only one of you.
Yeah.
And once you figure out who that is, you cannot make the right decisions or right choices by trying to be somebody else. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, this is really important, and this is the key to my work with clients everywhere in the world. Is what's in your bag of tricks? What's in your story that then you can share? Because the story is only good if you can store it, you can share it. And I've done these exercises so often with people. Think of a topic that you could share something, countries I have been to or not been to, and you start sharing. You'll share your experiences. And in sharing those experiences without ego, but with lovely stories, you'll find connections. And once you find connections, then you find a bond. And then you can own your story in the bond and belonging to somebody else and to a group. And that's where you don't have to pretend to be anybody else. And that's when we run magical conversations. People come to them because they say, gosh, this is great. I don't need to bring my ego. I can just be myself. So it's also about understanding how you listen to somebody else and what the connection is. I'll give you an example. Somebody says, oh, well, I've been to Portugal. It's fabulous. You might say, oh, gosh, I went there as well. Did you experience X, Y, and Z? But you could say, well, I've never been there. I'd love to know because I'd be fascinated. You immediately start sharing your energy into the story of how you can experience that topic together. And that's what we're not doing in the world. We're not sharing our stories. We're controlling and owning our stories so that they become, well, this is my story, so you better listen to me. No, I want my story to be shared. So in ownership, it's also important how you share what you own about yourself. So if you have a gift and you want to share it, you don't cover it up and put it in the back office. You bring it out on show, and you are your best gift.
I was just thinking about a couple of things because as we continue to grow, as we continue to get experience and learn, we evolved into bigger and better things. And we see, at least I do, start seeing the world a little bit differently. It's like I look at the world, I look at people as just like what you said, authentic harmony, love, compassion, all of those great things. I try to trust everyone until they show me that I cannot trust them. Uh, and so, why is it important that you give yourself permission to evolve and continue to grab ownership for everything that you do, the decisions that you make, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, this is where we roll into responsibility, because this is very important, JC. And I was taught responsibility by my parents. So just generally, take responsibility for who you are. But a keynote here is that you don't need to take responsibility for everybody else in your world to the point where it's a burden on you. There is a shared responsibility in a family, in a company, in lots of different things. But it's also important that that we take responsibility and share and don't try and control other people.
I think we might have lost Dr. Pauline. I'm sure she'll be back, but this is so important. The core values that she's talking about. Core, just like she mentioned, choices that we make. It's up to us to make sure that we evaluate in our senses and our minds how we go about making the choice or choices that we make, and being able to honestly live with this choice or decision that you make. So, and her next one is ownership, is what we're talking about right now. We are responsible for what we do. Not everybody is. You can't be responsible for a lot of things that happen around you. You can only be responsible for the things that you choose and decision that you make. Many, they have to live up to their responsibility and ownership themselves. And they will have to ensure that whatever lessons learned that they have had in the past, that they're able to apply those to the purpose that they believe that God placed them on this earth to do. And that's so important because, first of all, I believe we have to discover what purpose that is. And we all have purpose. We have to dig deep down inside. So we take ownership of everything that we do. And we have to take ownership of every decision that we make. We have to take ownership of the environment we allow ourselves to go into.
I found you.
We have to take ownership of all of these things. And that's what Dr. Pauline was talking about. And not just that, she mentioned responsibility where we are at right now. Responsibility. If we make a decision based on ownership and we accept ownership, regardless of what happened, we have to be able to, we're responsible for our actions.
Absolutely.
And
I'm sorry I disappeared. I don't know what happened there.
That's okay. Oh, just re-emphasizing core. And I got up just responsibility. Can you pick it up with that again?
Yes.
We got about 2 minutes before the break.
Yeah, okay. So very focus on responsibility. As I disappeared off the screen, I had to take responsibility for what happened. So I was dashing through my Gmail to find the link again. And that's really what it is when emergencies come up, we take responsibility. We spend a lot of time thinking we have to do everything right. What I would like you to think about is asking the right questions when it comes to responsibility. You are responsible for yourself and you, in kindness, responsible for other people, but you don't need to fix anybody else. You don't need to control everybody else. You just need to be there for them. And that's a very important part of responsibility that I think sometimes we miss in our education and in many ways, that we need to allow people to be responsible for themselves. So my father always said to me, if you join something, take responsibility, sign up for a position on the committee or, lead the way. And I have that beautiful inheritance in my life because I do take responsibility. I don't always get it right, but I do ask some of the right do it right, but ask the right questions, ask the different questions. What are we going to take responsibility for in our world? And that's something I'm very passionate about because I think the world is going to through a lot of diabolical things at the moment. And we need to take responsibility in our own lives and together to create harmony, because that's the only way we're going to get through some of the traumas and the toxicity and the wars that we have at the moment, is to share and care and be responsible, but don't go out and fix everybody else. Be there as a helping hand, like you.
Hold that thought, Dr. Pauline. We're going to take a station break. We'll come back and figure out a lot more that we're going to talk about. And responsibility, I believe, is also being a leader, even if you're leading yourself. And the best definition of a leader that I ever heard was a leader understands what he needs to do in order to lead, whether it's troops or whatever. So a leader has to decide on which way is they going to lead. So a leader knows the way, goes the way, but most importantly, shows the way. We're going to take a station break and we're going to come back. We still got some more Dr. Crawford. And if you want to be part of the conversation with your platform, all you do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. Promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life with Cecil Letton.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are. one that keeps us close when we're apart. Walking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of need.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and as I mentioned to you in the beginning, every time we have Dr. Pauline Crawford on, she brings it, and you're going to be educated, whether you like it or not. You're going to get some great things from this young lady. That's her mission is go out and enhance the betterment of the whole world, the whole globe. Not just the United States, not just England, not just that, but we're talking about the whole world. And in order to do that, a couple of things we're talking about the core.
Yes.
We're talking about choices, ownership, responsibility, and energy. That's what we're getting ready to focus on. This energy thing. Because if you lack energy, and energy, self-energy, because you're not really trying, it's on you, but you have to discover what you're trying to convey and what point you're trying to make better. So Dr. Pauline, we got about 6 minutes of the show left. So I want to pick it up with energy. Can you tell our viewers?
Yes. Okay. So this is really important because we take responsibility for our energy. So all of you have got energy resources in your home. You plug in something and it lights up, it starts going. So your energy is really important to plug in to other people's energy. This is why my mission is the power of authentic harmony, because if we could connect all that energy around the world in harmony, then we have sharing of our ownership. We have sharing through our choices. We're responsible for ourselves. We help other people. We create this energy. It's an energy bubble. And it's I like Tesla would be very proud of me. It's free and it's personal and it's collective. And what is very important is it's very outward flowing value creation. It is not about revenge. It's not about saying what happened in the past was bad. It's about going forward. And I heard this quote yesterday, which I must share. It said, "Revenge is personal, but justice is for all." So we can step into that. And I saw that on a program called Zorro, but it just struck me. Revenge is personal. When we get into revenge mode, we get into blame and shame. We're not coming from a positive energy source. We're not making choices, right choices, owning it, being responsible for our positive energy. So you own everything that you have that is energetic, not with ego, but with sharing and genuine transparency. We could plug in the human grid of the world and have amazing, magical conversations. Now, I know people are going to be out there saying, oh, that sounds sort of, happy clappy kind of thing, but it is possible. Just take it in your own environment. Make sure you connect to everybody energetically. If you go to the supermarket, be energetic with the person at the checkout. When you're passing somebody, smile, say hello to the person walking past with their dog, and also sort out any difficult conversations that you have in your own environment. That's what I do with my clients. I help them to understand this core, be extraordinary starting today, because it will change your life and the world's life. So it's very important. It's a challenge is, do you want good energy or bad energy? It's a choice.
Hey, repeat that phrase one more time for people that didn't about the energy, revenge and justice.
Okay, revenge is personal. Justice is for all. So what it's saying is that when we get revengeful, people will take it very personally. So we've got so much arguing in the world at the moment, so many polar opposite views, because we get kind of revengeful about it, and we get demanding about, well, my perspective is the one that matters. Well, two polar opposite people arguing, to me, they're both the same because they're not budging. So for them, revenge is personal, but justice is for all. So we think of the world in terms of justice, meaning that everybody has a fair deal, everybody has a good place to be, everybody can smile. And I know there's a lot to sort out. I'm not being lightweight about this. We've got economic pressures, we've got stress, we've got mental health, all sorts of issues. But it all starts with me, starts with you, JC. Starts with you.
Start with both of us in 30 seconds. What are the takeaways that you, real quickly, because we only got a minute.
Very quickly, make a choice to be extraordinary starting today, and love yourself and love others. Even when things are going bad, just think about, where is the energy? Can I say a good word? Can I smile? Can I move away from danger? All those choices. So remember, choice, ownership, responsibility, energy. The best you is the one sitting in your body. It's the one you bring to work with you. It's the one you walk around with.
Dr. Pauline, you got an open invitation to come on the show anytime. Next time we talk, I want to tell our viewers and listeners about our great university and National University of Entreprenology. And we might be able to make some more PhDs out there if they meet the qualifications, and if they go through the program and they do what they have to do. So we'll talk about that one a little bit later. But I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the show and talk about this great topic and talk about all the great topics that you always talk about. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely wonderful show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Always, always, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.